Welcome to Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here is the podcast host, James Delingpole.
Welcome to Delingpole, a Breitbart podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest. That's a clue, by the way. And my guest, have you got the clue yet? Dick Delingpole.
It's me, I'm back.
Yeah. Do you know what? You were almost sounding like Thingy from
What's the name?
Pointless.
Richard Osman.
Richard, the one that says hiya.
Is that what
In
he
a
does? He
slightly,
does, doesn't
in a
he?
slightly annoying way, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
semi-ironic.
it's like I'm really, really rich and famous and successful, but I've got my feet, on the ground
Yeah,
still.
I'm only the sidekick.
Here I am dissing him, but
We love him.
Yeah, we do love him, but I can't imagine he's ever going to come on this podcast. Because he is quite lefty.
Well, he's got to be to get where he is, isn't he? He's not going to have... Mind you, he could be one of those ones who keeps a...
No, he's
quiet.
not. No, he's not. It's very obvious what his politics are.
Yeah.
If we were playing the yes/no game, he would be a no. Whereas,
really?
yeah, totally, yeah.
Right.
Whereas Alexander Armstrong
Would be a
would
yes.
be totally yes. I mean, his
Right.
politics are really sound. He really cannot say what his politics are.
Oh, gosh. Well, you've outed him now, haven't you?
I don't know whether people who care about that sort of thing listen to this podcast.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I just kind of. I think we exist in a special world where only special people
Well, our
listen to this
special
stuff.
friend is listening.
Our special friend, and everyone, people who don't suck, only the person who doesn't suck listens to this podcast.
And I told you about my special friend stroke fan, didn't I?
Hang on just a second. Can we just clarify here? He was only your special friend. He wasn't mine.
He specified that he only particularly likes the Dick and James podcast.
Yeah, the Dick and James podcast.
Yeah, all
not
right.
the...
But you do a podcast every week.
Tell me what happened.
I'm in full French World War II kit, as you do.
Yeah.
At an ironworks, an 18th century ironworks in mid Wales.
Well, was there a great battle in World War II involving French soldiers and Germans?
We reenacted the one that would have happened had there been one.
Or had there been a German invasion?
Had there been a German invasion,
Yeah.
and it was just down to the French, a few paras, a single 82nd Airborne soldier.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing.
that sort of realistic scenario.
It could have happened, all right? Anyway, we're there defending this 18th century ironworks against a small unit of slightly overweight Fallschirmjäger.
Yes.
And, after the battle, this little chap, can't even be in his teens, comes up and says, "Well done, Dick, that was a really good battle." And I thank you very much. I thought, how do you know my name? I said it. I verbalised it. I said, how do you know who I am? He said, I listened to your podcast. And it was a fan.
Isn't that so
and he was there
nice?
with his dad, and I asked to meet his dad, and obviously if they'd come along to say hello, I wanted to thank them.
Well, also, there's this kind of child
And they were lovely
protection
people.
issues as well. You don't want to be kind
Safeguarding
of
issues involved.
You don't want to be cozying up to an 11-year-old or whatever without his dad being...
They were really sound, very unassuming father and son, and they'll no doubt be listening now. So a big hello to both of them.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming up and saying hello. You made my day.
I'm about to sneeze. I think one of your evil dogs has made me sneeze.
Oh, right. You're only allergic to my dogs.
Well, I don't know. But it's funny that this is the first time I've ever sneezed on the podcast.
And the dogs have been here every time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Should have averted that.
Blaming everyone else but yourself for the sneeze.
Do you know what? You weren't here when I arrived at your house.
Right.
And I walked into the kitchen, and the dogs greeted me.
Yeah.
I think they knew who I was.
Yeah?
Because they didn't attack. They weren't as
They
vicious
really
as
are the worst guard dogs ever.
Yeah.
They would love a burglar
One of
to
them.
death.
One of them nibbled my hand slightly. But
Yeah, that's Lemmy's way of saying that he likes
Yeah.
it.
So that was okay. We've gone so straight into this podcast.
We do. It
like a
does
hot
happen.
knife through
Yeah,
butter.
yeah.
That we haven't even had time to. It's a bit like Blitzkrieg. You just don't know that the Germans have overrun you before you even know what's happening.
You sit down, have a coffee, and the panzers are rolling into the town
Probably
square.
led by
Christian Niemitz.
Christian
Yeah,
Niemitz, because
definitely.
he's always there.
Yeah.
So what have you got for us today, Dick?
Well, we've got a yes/no game because pretty much our listener
popular
won't
request.
let us do a Dick and James podcast without one.
He, she, Zir will not let it lie, will
No, and neither should they, because it's obviously a great feature.
is.
But let me tell you how difficult it is
Oh,
to
no.
come up with the names.
Oh, no.
I have to write them throughout the weeks leading up to these broadcasts.
No wonder you sound so pissed off when I ring you up the night before. And
It's
say,
like a
"Can you
heavy
podcast?"
burden.
Yeah.
And,
But Dick, can I say?
Yeah?
That is the burden of fame.
Yeah.
I have to live with it all the bloody time. I'm weighed down. If I have a sort of crooked back, if I look like the guy on the cover of Led Zepp 4, burdened by those sticks,
Yeah.
that's because the burden of fame.
Right. Do you think... Well, yeah. Okay. Do you want to launch into a yes-no?
We may as well, because obviously in section 3, we've already planned for the bad news.
The bad thing.
The bad thing that we... Yeah.
The bad thing that we're mostly here for.
Well,
right
no,
now.
we're not mostly.
Well,
I don't want to be defined
No.
by it, Dick. But it's going to be the third section where we talk about the sad thing. But good.
well, you know what? The yes-no game does have the added benefit of leading on to some great little red herrings, because obviously these names have a relevance, and whether or not they're a yes or a no, in a lot of cases it's obvious, but in some of them there's a reason why it's counterintuitive. So we can lead off on some of those.
Although isn't playing the yes no game so soon a bit like sort of, to continue the Led Zeppelin analogy, Led Zeppelin on and doing sort of Black Dog followed by Stairway to Heaven?
Yeah, I suppose it is, kind of. But where else does that leave us?
No.
How about a rundown of previous
No,
pods?
I think no. I think
No?
spoil the special friend. We're
Yeah.
going to go into yes no now.
Okay. Right.
Now.
Now, Abu Hamza.
No.
Well done. Osama bin Laden.
No.
Jeremy Corbyn.
No.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes.
See what I was doing there?
What?
I was building up to the of the glorious Israeli leader.
You know, Benjamin Netanyahu was in one of those kind of Entebbe type outfits, those commando
Was he?
outfits that actually rescued hostages from terrorists.
Nice.
Amazing. I think his brother was killed on a similar
right.
operation, possibly even at Entebbe.
Well,
Anyway.
we're getting a lot more into the whole Israeli thing via Fauda, aren't we?
Oh,
We do
Fauda.
love Fauda.
If
We'll
the special listener,
spare a little conversation for this in a bit.
yeah,
okay?
we'll talk about Fauda a bit.
Right. Scrappy Doo.
No.
No, exactly no.
No. I mean,
I think there's a certain type of person that thinks Scooby-Doo is enhanced by Scrappy-Doo.
the same sort of person who worships Abu Hamza.
Yeah.
Abu Hamza and Scrappy-Doo were probably invented by the same person.
And the members of Momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost.
Momentum probably have photographs of they probably have celebratory disco evenings.
He's probably on the membership card. A little Scrappy-Doo.
Bastard.
Yeah. Kanye West.
Yes.
He's just more yes
Yeah.
every week, isn't he?
Can I just riff slightly, very, very briefly on this?
Or Yee, as he's known.
Yee. An interesting, because as you know, I had a very, very bad time watching Kanye West at Glastonbury. And if you'd asked me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Eminem would have been a yes. Kanye West would have been a no.
Yeah.
But actually, Eminem's career has gone to shit. His last album was so awful.
Yep.
In fact, I would say that he actually undid all the good of his previous albums in that last album.
It can happen.
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Kanye West, his new album, I think, is pretty good. It's not maybe my favourite yet, but politically,
He had an amazing write-up in The Spectator that I read. The whole sort of article on him. Well, I'll show you later if you'd missed it. But
what is this Spectator that you speak of? But did you see the interview that he did with the annoying American Jimmy Kimmel?
I didn't know. He tried to take him down.
Kimmel tried to take Kanye down, and he tried to take Kim Kardashian down. And I get forced to watch the Kardashians, and I must have seen about, I'd say probably about 30 episodes.
That's 30 episodes more than
Yeah,
me.
I get forced to by the daughter, as father-daughter bonding shit, and even now I cannot tell. I keep having to ask which Kardashian is that? Is that Khloe?
Oh,
is
I
that
have no idea.
No, they all look bloody same.
Yeah.
And do you know what else they do? They keep changing their hair colouring and makeup so that they keep looking different.
And their facial structure.
No, they do, and their facial structure and their bottom structure. They have surgery there.
What is going on there?
But
It's
anyway,
not right.
Kim Kardashian, who talks in this weird kind of almost robotic kind of Stepford wifey manner on the Kardashians, in this interview with Jimmy Kimmel, she sounded quite normal and actually pretty intelligent and pretty. Whereas Kimmel was just he can't bear the fact that Kanye. Well, he can't bear the fact that he's black and pro-Trump, but he can't bear anyone pro-Trump.
But it's just the wonderful thing that blows minds, isn't it? The black pro-Trump. It's just such a great combination.
Apparently, I think it was on this interview, Kanye said that it had taken him about a year and a half to pluck up because he's bipolar. I think you see that massive ego like I saw at Glastonbury where he turned all the stage lights, about a gazillion pounds worth of stage lights on him, just so that we could bathe in his wondrousness. But he's quite shy as well, and it took him a long time to out himself as a Trumper.
Right.
Yeah, anyway.
So there you go, little diversion.
Yeah,
there
wasn't that amazing
on
how we riffed? Yeah, Yee.
Here's a good one. Brandon Lewis.
I mean,
what's all that about?
Yeah, who is Brandon Lewis?
He's come from nowhere to top of the hatred list.
He's chairman of the Conservative Party, a complete nobody, a complete sort of selling out all Conservative principles.
Perfect man to represent the Conservative Party as it stands at the moment.
Perfect man for the job, yeah. I don't give him very long.
Well, clearly not. No. I mean, he's going to go down with Theresa, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
He's going to be... You know what he's going to be like? He's going to be like one of those galley slaves, shackled... Probably he's going to be like the Persian slaves at Salamis.
Right.
And as the ships go down, they're manacled to their oars, shackled to their oars, so they go down with the ship. Yeah. That's Brandon Lewis.
Rowan Atkinson.
Yes.
He's another one who could have gone either way.
He
could have gone the safe, lovey route, but he stuck his head above the parapet to speak the truth.
I think when you're Rowan Atkinson, you can get away with shit. It's like, we don't like Mr. Bean. I don't like Mr. Bean, but enough people like Mr. Bean,
especially our European special friend. For some reason, they bloody love him over there.
He's bought himself enough money, and I mean, he must be loaded. Enough money and international credibility.
He had a McLaren, didn't he?
To be able to not care about what people think about his politics.
And you know what's happening? All the left are now saying he was never funny anyway.
Yeah.
They're all retrospectively unliking all the things that they once found funny about. On the same vein, the three comedians who do The Last Leg.
I don't even know.
You don't know The Last Leg?
Because you're younger than me. So you're in touch with this youth culture.
This 18 months that divides us makes me way more in touch with the youth.
That's pretty amazing, actually. There's only 18 months between us. I mean, imagine having a baby and then...
Not having a baby for 9 months and then having another one.
That's pretty...
Well, that's pretty standard behaviour for...
In the 1960s.
Right, yeah, I suppose.
When women knew their place.
Popping out babies. Popping out wonderful babies, obviously.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you, it's possibly the most nauseating comedy show on TV.
What's it called so I can hate it?
The Last Leg. And the basis being that they're three really funny guys, but, two of them just happen to be disabled. But that doesn't define them, right?
Right, okay.
Anyway, it's ghastly. Jack Whitehall.
Yes.
Yeah. And why is he a yes?
Well,
he's yes anyway.
He's a yes.
Why is he in the news?
I think he's secretly on our side, although he can't admit it. I mean, I spoke to his dad about this, and I think Jack is apolitical, and obviously he sort of, when his dad says politically incorrect things, Jack has to go. Oh,
he has to
Dad.
roll his eyes a bit.
Oh,
yeah,
Dad, you're so homophobic, so whatever. The kids always say that, don't they? But it's more he's yes by default. It's nothing he's done. It's more what's happened to him, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In that he was cast as a gay character in a Disney film, and yet even though he's amazingly camp, he's not gay.
And a good actor. I mean, he'd be good at it.
He was fantastic in that Evelyn Waugh adaptation. Was it Vile Bodies?
I don't know.
It was very,
but
very good.
I caught little bits of it.
He was Paul Pennyfeather, and he was brilliant.
Bob Mortimer.
Oh,
is that going to throw you slightly?
Right, throw me. I know he's on a thing about fishing.
Oh, it was a lovely series. It was
Is it?
really nice. Yeah.
So am I saying yes?
You're saying yes.
Okay.
Because I think whenever he has politics thrown at him, he just stays neutral. He just pretty much closes up. He's not interested. Doesn't want to know. And then I drift off onto another. I must have put another day between these names, but then I'm on to Boris.
Yeah. Oh,
You see, so I've got Boris, Gove, May.
But see, Boris has become meme-tastic. That I seem to follow these people on Twitter who do young people who do memes, and it has become a meme of Boris in those ridiculous shorts coming out to serve tea ITN sent a news crew to ambush him at his country house, I think, in order to say, Mr. Johnson, what are you going to apologise for comparing the burqa to a postbox, letterboxes? And Boris said, I'm not going to talk about the burqa at all. I'm just going to give you a cup of tea. And
he scored highly for serving it tea first, milk after, and in novelty mugs.
The kind of
the
mugs
authenticity, the kind of mugs that are genuinely in your cupboard at home, whether you like it or not.
The ones that came with an Easter egg in them.
I think there was a cream egg one there.
It was interesting, actually. I felt rather sad for... I love Michael Gove, who I know is on your... You mentioned he's on your next...
They were a bit of a threesome.
Okay. But it was interesting that Gove's choice of cups was dissed in social media because they used kind of posho stuff.
It's such an amazing little detail, isn't it, that people will focus on. But it's all about authenticity, isn't it? I mean, when I come to your place, it's different mugs throughout. It's sort of like, people have got their favourites. There's the ghastly ones.
Trump mug.
You've got a Trump mug.
I've totally got a Trump mug.
Right.
Duh. Although I actually prefer, I'll be honest here, I prefer drinking out of china mugs to whatever the mug ceramic mugs. I just I like thin for tea, thicker for coffee, but tea has to be thin.
It was a very particular choice.
It's bone china.
The whole Boris approach was just, it just felt right. It felt like the right thing to do, and you can do it wrong. For instance, do you remember the Mumsnet asking Cameron what his favourite biscuit was? And
yes.
They were asking everyone.
And he said Hitler, didn't he? I think. No. What did he say? He got it wrong.
I think the person who got it wrong was possibly Corbyn, who tried to come over sort of more authentic, and he probably had it.
He said Black September biscuits.
He probably had it run by a what's the name panel.
Focus group
to find out which biscuit would make him most popular. Little things like that. The politicians panic like mad. But Boris would probably come straight out and said chocolate hobnob.
Obviously, because that would be the one.
Because that would be the one he likes. Hobnob not being enough, you have to put chocolate on it.
Yeah.
But it's you can tell the politicians that you're going to grow to love by the authenticity of things like mugs and chocolate biscuits.
Had you kind of sort of written off Boris until this revival?
I still haven't not altogether.
Oh, have you? Are you still Boris sceptical?
Well, I don't know why the knives aren't completely out for May. I mean, clearly the only hope is Boris right now.
Oh, sorry. I misunderstood you. I thought, but
I want to see it happen.
Yeah,
everyone wants to see it happen.
What I mean is before Burkagate, before the tea ceremony, which by the way, according to Guido, it had 6 million views. 6 million views, but I'm sure it's had more than that now. But can you imagine 6 million views? Just the scene of Boris serving tea on a tray to some reluctant journalists, reluctant but won over journalists. And talk about the story backfiring. That was the mainstream media trying to make Boris look racist and evil, and instead being charmed despite themselves.
Corbyn must have been absolutely tearing his shirt. It's just like the whole... They thought they had him, and he made it work for himself. Do
you think Corbyn has emotions like tearing his shirt? I think of him as such a sort of puppet creature of the sinister old Wickhamist Seamus Milne. Such a creature of... I don't think of him as real.
I suppose not. No, but well, certainly more real than Seamus Milne, isn't he?
Do you think he's like Rumpelstiltskin when his name is revealed?
Yes, possibly more like that.
Okay.
But we're talking someone who never really existed in the real world. He's just gone, from politics, from
his
student politics to
seven-bedroom
politics.
rectory to prep school
I suppose so. But
to Diane Abbott's tent.
But there will be focus. Oh no!
Can you imagine?
I don't even want to.
No,
I don't.
Just imagine on their motorbike trip. They
was on a motorbike.
I think so, wasn't it? Oh God, I've really upset you there, haven't I? Now you think that
Corbyn can ride a motorbike.
No, maybe he can't. Maybe
don't do that.
Maybe they did it in a Trabant.
You've completely thrown me now.
Sorry.
Obviously, anyone who rides a motorbike is pretty much by definition an all right bloke.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to vote Corbyn now because I don't think Boris can ride a bike.
No.
We
know he can pedal one.
I know that's true, but I don't really like bikes, as in the pedal variety.
You've done the bike thing in London.
I used to do
you
it.
had a
I used to do it
mountain bike in London.
It was the only way I got around because it's the only way of not being killed by. No, actually, it's not strictly true, is it? I was about to say, I used to love going around on a bike, thinking, okay, I'm going to get run down by a lorry, but at least I'm not going to get blown up on the tube.
Yeah.
But now
you can get mown down
by
a not jihadist at all.
Yeah, not
by a
Sudanese
upset because his dad
he came to renew his visa. That was all.
As you do.
Yeah,
and
you just mowed down a bunch of
thought
cyclists.
He had to do it at the Houses of Parliament
at 7:40 in the morning, as you do when you've.
And then he saw the cyclists, and he just saw red.
Poor man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Boris, you've gone yes, clearly.
Yep.
I need to clear up the Gove thing because
Gove.
I know he's a mate.
Yes.
Look, with a Gove.
Everyone's. Whenever Gove does something that I wouldn't approve of, everyone goes, "What do you think about your mate Gove?" And I think number one, am I my Gove's keeper?
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. Two, whatever Gove does, he could invade Poland, frankly, and I would still love him.
Always with the Nazi references.
Yeah,
with you.
I just sort of slipped out. I love Gove, and I just think. He's got his own fish to fry. I think my personal feeling is that he made a wrong call by backing Theresa May's stupid Chequers plan. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Yeah,
well, that's the whole crux of the with a Gove bit. Yeah. I mean, surely that was the point at which that could have been his moment with David Cameron when he came back from his so-called negotiations with the EU. Yeah. When Cameron could have come back and said, "Guys, I've talked to them, but they're a bunch of you know what?
Yeah.
We're trying to
we can't say twat, can we?
We can't. No. It's best not to.
Because in American it's rude, even though in England it's not.
So that should have been the moment that Cameron turned round and said, "Right, we're going to fight for a really good Brexit."
Yeah.
And he would still be our Prime Minister now. Gove should have turned around at the Chequers deal and said, "No, we're clearly being sold a pup.
Yeah.
I'm out."
So that was his.
But that was where Boris chose to drop out.
Yeah.
But a Boris Gove team now would still be untouchable.
Here's my theory on the Gove thing. It could yet be that he's playing such a deep, clever game that this may turn out well for him. Number one, but number two, Gove is too big a talent and an intellect and everything not to find himself in a cabinet of Boris Johnson's eventually, if that comes to pass.
Yeah.
If that glorious moment comes to pass, which is our only hope, really. I'd say. So there we are.
Right. So May is obviously a no.
Are you feeding ideas into me?
What Theresa May.
Yes.
Yes. What? Yes, she's a no.
No. Yes, she's a no. Right. Yeah.
Ruth Davidson.
No.
Exactly.
No. And
this is another thing coming up. It's like somehow she's the great white hope for the Conservative Party.
Just because she in Scotland, she's considered a Tory. She's no kind of Tory at all.
No.
It's just because they're all so far left in Scotland
that you just need to be.
I mean,
ever so slightly right, and
Stalin would be considered right wing in Scotland.
Great,
dangerously
right. One covered off.
Okay.
Here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Peter Gabriel.
No.
Now, why is he a no at the moment?
Oh,
because we've loved his work in the past, obviously.
Yeah, Games Without Frontiers, War Without Tears.
Everything in Genesis. Yeah, but a flower.
wonder if you go down the willow. Yes, I know. But Dick, the fact that he took lots of drugs and dressed as a flower and fronted Genesis at a time when there wasn't that much else around, and we having been to public school and listened to it in our bed sits.
A lot of our special listeners do like Genesis. Whenever we tweet about Genesis, we get a very positive reaction.
I totally agree. And nevertheless, I know, having written about my Watermelons book, I know that Peter Gabriel is part of the Club of Rome type these outfits who believe massively in global governance.
Do you know the thing that put him in the paper recently?
Okay,
he made a Brexit comment, and the Brexit comment was down to him not being able to get any half-decent acts for his WOMAD thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Okay, so he blames populism for not being able to get any good acts for WOMAD, compares the UK to Weimar Berlin.
Which is a great place. We've seen it from Babylon Berlin. He says it like it's a bad thing. I want Britain to be more like Babylon Berlin.
And this was his quote: "Do we really want a white bread Brexiter flatland?" Oh, what a strange thing to say. Because he can't get any good acts for his horrible World Music Festival.
Yeah, because no one likes WOMAD. Who would want to go to WOMAD? I do want to go to the Crop Ready Folk Festival sometime.
Okay, well, sign me up for that.
Would you do that? Should we go next year?
Yes, absolutely. Love me a bit of folk.
Exactly, and we're old now.
We can do it.
We can do it without looking
we
around.
We both wear shirts with collars on now.
Do you think I'd have to grow facial hair?
No, it wouldn't be good on you.
No, okay, fine.
Anyway, I've got that.
You've got that covered.
Thank you.
Good.
So yeah, he's a no. John Lydon.
Oh, I'm sort of guessing yes.
Yeah, no, he's sound as a pound.
Oh, good.
He's full on. He winds everyone up.
Good.
Their favourite punk is a Brexiteer and a populist even.
Yeah.
Rowan Atkinson.
We've done him already. But
is he on twice?
He's double, yes.
I've double booked
So good
Rowan.
you named him twice.
So good you named him twice. Emmanuel Macron.
I quite like the fact that he's gay. I think it's quite funny.
Are you actually allowed to say that?
I don't know.
I don't,
is he going to sue?
Because
Because he's shagging his bodyguard?
Oh, James.
Allegedly. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautifully scandal-ridden. But, you know, the French presidency always is.
Who would have guessed that
mistress
this pint-sized mummy
appears,
lover
would have a male mistress?
No, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. Matteo Salvini.
Oh, I love Matteo.
Isn't he great?
He's just awesome. I mean, when was the last time you looked across at Italy and said, I could really do with a leader like that?
Well, not since the war.
not since the Abyssinia crisis.
Here's a good one. David Tennant. Lovable Scots actor.
I bet he's
plays Doctor Who.
No, you were just giving me a few hints.
What's not to like about David Tennant?
Oh no,
he's terrible.
He hates us.
Terrible.
He would hate us.
He hates us.
He would hate us. I saw him in Richard II.
Yeah.
At the RSC.
Was he reinterpreting it in a socialist fashion?
No, it was so good. It was I'd say it's about the best production I've ever seen of Shakespeare. I loved
Isn't that
it.
the tragedy when they're really good but they would hate us?
They would hate us. It's sad because if they only but knew it, we're lovely and they would like us really. But
I want to touch on
this
a little bit later after we finish off.
You want
this
to touch
list.
cloth?
I want to touch on this touchy subject.
Okay.
3 more names: Tom Baker.
Yes,
Yes,
surely.
of course,
yes.
But I had to check him up to make sure he hasn't said anything that might.
No,
because remember that when we did Brian Blessed.
Yes.
And it turns out he was a really shocking no.
Yeah.
Because he would hate us.
It's so awful that.
Yeah. But Tom Baker's very much in that league. But Tom
Baker.
is fantastic, and
Yes.
I was just reading up on his career, and interesting chap. But he's a yes. He had a comment in his Wikipedia entry. He commenting how much he hated the Tories, but then when Labour got in, he realised how much he hated them as well, which I think in a way puts him firmly in our camp.
Yeah.
Eric Clanton.
Eric Clanton.
Do you know who he is?
It's not a typo then.
It's not a typo.
Eric Clanton.
So, if I was to say bike lock.
Oh, Eric Clanton.
Yes.
He's awful.
Terrible
Terrible.
person. But his case has come up, and he's been given a 3-year suspended sentence.
Because wasn't it Berkeley
Yeah.
justice system? So
Yeah.
they're all going to be full of Reds.
Appalling. He was
Antifa.
virtually attempted murder.
Yeah.
Several times over. And he is a professor of ethics.
Ethics.
Yeah. Terrible person. The last one, we mentioned him earlier in the cafe, Mike Ashley. Your sister-in-law's new boss.
Oh, yeah. Well, hang on.
I think he's going to be a kind of a Tim Martin character.
I better
for
say
us.
yes, just because otherwise he might viciously sack.
Well, no, I think he's a Tim Martin type character in that he's great for British business. He's an entrepreneur.
I don't know.
No?
We don't go.
No?
Given
Okay.
the sensitive
Nature of it.
nature of this, I think we
Could go either way, but he's
could go either way.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Well, I think. Look. You're
The thing
listening.
I wanted.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
you're going to do a.
Yeah, I'm just going to
Do a little break.
This is a Breitbart podcast with me, James Delingpole, and it's called Delingpole. More in a moment.
Breitbart News Daily with Alex Marlowe.
Jeannie in Pennsylvania.
I think he's gotten away from what we really hired him to do, which is draining the swamp. If you look at the real picture of draining a swamp, you go in and you take all the water out of it. What does it leave? It leaves the gunk. He cannot get rid of the gunk. We have to get rid of the gunk. Everything he's doing, he's lowering the water so we can see who needs to go. The only way they can go is if we vote them out.
Breitbart News Daily. Weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
This is Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here once again is James Delingpole.
Welcome back to Delingpole, a Breitbart podcast, with my guest note, Dick Delingpole. Dick, what have you got lined up for us
Well,
next?
it was the thing about this list of people.
Yeah.
And more often than not, we're saying they would hate us.
They would hate us.
Now, this is just a little observation. It might be really bleeding obvious to you or most people.
Yeah.
But it's a left versus right thing, which we know is essentially being redrawn as libertarian versus authoritarian, because the left-right is more wobbly these days, especially in Brexit times. So I wrote down, we think they're misguided and we tolerate them.
Yeah.
They think we are evil, so they hate us and want us to die.
Yes,
So there's this, we don't hate them, they hate us.
totally.
But it's completely not painted that way. And this has got me thinking with that Eric Clanton thing.
Yeah.
He, as a professor of ethics, he's thought this out. He's not going to be thick. He's just going to be deeply ethics. He's going to be deeply misguided to the point where he thinks, actually, these people are not just wrong, they are evil and need destroying. So he's got himself
Yes.
into a state where he thinks it's all right to batter them over the head with a bike lock, potentially killing them. But I can't see our lot doing that
It is
to
not a
them.
coincidence that all the violence at the moment is coming from the left, not the right.
Much as those up top would like to think it was otherwise. I mean, every time they try to close down any form of jihadist movement, they have to try and find this mythical right-wing terrorist to do a parody.
Well, when the security services released their figures of how many plots that they've uncovered recently, they dutifully mentioned that they'd uncovered four so-called far-right plots.
You know what that probably is? A kid at a secondary school who's accidentally gone on to the UKIP website from the school computer.
That would certainly be my suspicion. Yeah, but I think it's a conundrum which can't be mentioned often enough, because precisely the reason you mention. I'll tell you who's a good example of this is Owen Jones. Owen Jones, whenever he tweets about issues, he always ramps up the emotion to the point where, when he's talking about right-wing people, it's as if they are, well, they're sort of like, we're Untermenschen. We're everything we stand for is so disgusting, and the language is the language of disgust and revulsion. And I think this is by the way a classic communist Marxist trope. It's and the Nazis used it as well, of course. The way that
You've got to dehumanize
your enemy, and they're so disgusting. Everything they do is so foul that really, if they die, it's probably for the best.
It gets to the point where there's no point in opposing them. You've got to kill them.
Yeah.
And that's actually all right. You're doing the world a service.
Punching a Nazi.
Yeah.
And you see this not just in the sort of extremists like I think Owen Jones is pretty extreme, but CNN, they all endorse this kind of stuff. I find it frightening.
And it is all sort of grist to the mill for the likes of Antifa.
Yeah.
And it's ramping up week by week. It just doesn't seem to be getting any better in that respect. It's a bit depressing.
As too as the whole SJW business. I remember Milo saying to me about when he was still at Breitbart, before he became the kind of the Milo creature. He said, this thing is coming to an end. We're already close to reaching peak social justice.
How long ago was that?
2 or 3 years ago, I would say, that these people have become such lunatics that they are beyond parody. And once a movement reaches that point, it cannot last. But instead, it's just gone and got more and more insane. And it's and rather than everyone going, well, obviously some people like us are recognising it. Some people are just going along with it still.
Yeah, it's but they like to compare us to 30s Berlin, but I think in a way they're right, but they're the perpetrators of it. They're the ones that are driving us over a cliff.
Would you not like to be Gabriel Rat?
with his drug habit,
with his morphine habit. I mean, I think he's quite good looking.
Yeah,
he looks a bit. I mean, this isn't a come on to one of my editors, but I think he does look a bit like Fraser Nelson, a bit. But oh my God, the girl who plays, she's so hot, isn't she?
So pleasantly dishevelled as well. I mean, that was another thing about that
dirty and
series.
sweet at the same time.
The authenticity of it all.
Are we still allowed to talk about girls? Are we too old for it?
I don't know. Maybe our special listener will forgive us.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't help that my daughter is currently here in the kitchen.
No.
She's quietly ignoring us.
They're going to disapprove of us whatever we do.
Yeah, of course.
That is their job. They find us disgusting and old and just good for money. That's all we're good for.
She's now holding out her arms.
For more money, I think she's saying, give me more money. Yeah, exactly. So,
but we've got, we're on to Babylon Berlin a little bit. Let's move straight on to Fauda because of its awesomeness. 2 TV series that you got me onto, which I'm forever.
And were you a bit
debt
resistant
for.
at first?
Yes, of course I was. I mean, Babylon Berlin I was straight into because it is so visual.
It's got tits in it.
Even without the tits, it would be a fantastic visual feast.
But it is like Game of Thrones used to be in the days when the Mother of Dragons...
Well, it's kind of like Game of Thrones in 1930s Berlin, isn't it?
By the way,
the
guy who directed it... Yeah. He also directed Run Lola Run. Have you seen Run Lola Run? I
haven't seen Run Lola Run.
Do yourself a favour.
Okay.
See Run Lola Run. It's really good.
I would write that down if I wasn't holding a microphone.
It's one of those time travel films, and it's really... You look at this film and you think, God, I'd like to see more of this director's films. And it turns out that one of them is he directed Babylon Berlin.
But Fauda is the other one. Now, I'm still... The wife is still completely into Fauda as well. It's incredibly tense. And you wrote in your piece about it that it was popular with Palestinians as well.
It's quite interesting that here is a series made in Israel, which, well, I wouldn't say glamorizes it, but the heroes are definitely this kind of even more hardcore than Mossad organization, which
I haven't quite worked out what they are, whether they're police or military or something.
They're military, but they're a sort of snatch squad, aren't they?
They're plain clothes.
They go in to do the really difficult cases involving rescuing hostages and sort of snatching terrorists and assassinating, all sorts of stuff. But despite this being clearly pro-Israel, the people on the other side of the wall, so to speak, the Palestinians, like it too.
Well, the Palestinians in it aren't portrayed as idiots, and they're not central casting PLO types, are they? They are very three-dimensional characters, all of them.
Yes, but it's under no illusions about the motivations of the Palestinians. They are motivated by this kind of theocratic impulse.
As you said, it was even at the hairdressers. It's
may God bless your hands after the haircut.
Yeah.
Everything, every phrase invokes Allah in some way or other, and so they're a bit like, I imagine, Christians were in the Middle Ages.
Right.
Everything is about God.
Because the weather, whether or not you get a plague, everything is down to whether or not you've displeased God.
So what Fowler does, and what the BBC doesn't say, the BBC will always kind of sentimentalise the Arabs and the Muslims in places like the Middle East, and will sort of sanitise their behaviour. Fowler doesn't bother with that. Fowler just tells it like it is, and you come away thinking, God, there's never going to be any peace between Israel and Palestine, because even though they have so much in common, often speaking the same language and probably sharing...
Well, the fact that they're indistinguishable from each other.
Yes, exactly. And they probably both eat falafels. But never... And probably like some of the same music. Nevertheless, they have a completely... One is about liberalised Western values, and the other one is about sort of Islamic death cult.
Well, funnily enough, the first question in my new patented racism test involves Fowler.
Okay.
Would you like to sit my racism test?
I hope I'm not going to emerge as a racist.
I don't think you will. I think it's if you're honest with the answers,
right,
you probably come out all right. Okay, so it's 4 questions. A simple sort of binary choice with each one.
Right.
You're watching Fowler.
Yeah.
Are you rooting for the brave Palestinian freedom fighters or the evil, duplicitous Israelis?
It's got to be the evil, duplicitous Israelis.
Oh dear. Let's just see how the rest of the quiz goes, all right?
You told me I was going to do okay.
I thought you would, but
you told me to be honest.
Yeah, okay, well, go. Try and be more honest with the other answers.
Honest.
Right, for reasons unknown, you find yourself in Peckham. Walking towards you on the pavement are 5 intimidating-looking black youths.
Yeah.
Do you A, pretend you've just seen your favourite shop on the other side of the road and cross through busy traffic? Or B, go up to the youths, attempt to high-five them, and then go on to explain how ashamed you are about that whole slavery thing?
Well, do you know what, actually?
Yeah?
Because of what I did in the LA riots...
You pretty much did go up to that.
I befriended the 4 trade crips.
Yeah.
I would say it's got to be a B.
Well, I think you're on probably level pegging at the moment. You've almost redeemed...
Do you think I've undone my
Are
racism?
you high-fiving them and apologising for slavery, though?
Do you know, I quibble with that. I think that's patronising.
Yeah?
I don't want to patronise them.
Okay. Because they might beat you up.
Because what I'm suggesting is that they're chippy about it. I don't think they probably aren't chippy at all. They're probably completely comfortable in their skins, more than you, Whitey.
Right,
white boy.
Good luck with that.
With your white privilege.
I'm probably under the bus attempting to cross the road. It's the World Cup. What is your attitude to games in which your country are playing?
Yeah.
Is it A, I don't mind as long as the best team wins and everyone has a lovely time?
Yeah.
Or B, you hope that your country wins?
Oh, that's very tricky.
You can see where this is going, can't you?
Yeah. Everyone should have a good time.
Yeah?
Is that the right answer? Yeah.
Right, let's see how you do on the final one. On the news, you hear that there has been a suicide bombing. Do you A, make no assumptions at all about the race or religion of the perpetrator?
Yeah.
Or B, do you immediately make an assumption about the race or religion of the perpetrator?
Isn't there some kind of South Park type meme about that?
Is there?
I think there might be.
Right.
Which seems to, obviously, as a professional journalist,
you want to get the facts first.
I want to get to the fact. Never assume.
You know what? Against all the odds, you have just passed my racism test.
Thank you, Dick. That's
almost
good.
With flying colours. You fell on the first one. Obviously, you support the Palestinians.
Yeah, my answer was ironic.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think our listener will buy that.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Well done with that.
So, are we going to run through the... What do you say?
I'm just pointing to Freya, pulmonary hypertension. It's just a thing. Don't worry.
Okay. Is that a "Don't Tread on Me" snake in your book there?
Yeah, I've designed
You
a "Don't Tread on-"
racist.
No, I've designed a Worcester version, so it looks like a black pear.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
What, you mean... Oh, that's really clever, yes.
But someone
got
at
the
work,
apples.
Yeah, someone at work
Pears, I mean.
drew a pair of balls on it, unfortunately. They do that at
Yeah,
work.
they've got no respect.
Well, they haven't.
No.
Look, also, what's at the top of this every page? You leave your notebooks out. I know.
It looks like a willy.
Yes, it looks a bit like a willy.
Yeah. This was... I always worry when the list of podcasts that we've done since the last one is really long, because it just shows how...
No, it's 10. You somehow managed to get me every 10.
Really?
Yeah.
That is spooky.
I am the sort of the marker, the full stop, the taking stock of.
So do I really do 50 podcasts a year?
You must do.
Because I must do.
Yeah.
That's
There'll
extraordinary,
be a
isn't it?
bloody revolution.
Do you think-
if you missed a week?
Do you think I'm going to... Are we going to have a sort of 100th special? I wonder whether we've done
You've
the
got to
100th.
count how many you've done, haven't
I
you?
hate doing that. I hate looking at lists and counting them.
Do you?
Yeah, well...
That's my thing.
Do you?
Well, yeah, I'm the sort of person with notebooks.
Yes,
with
you are.
With gridded paper.
You are.
That kind of person. So should we do them in reverse order or the most recent?
Whatever.
first?
It's just like...
So let's do in oldest order, because you had Tom Holland.
Good. Tom Holland, he's so brave.
Well, and so self-effacing about it. You know, really humble with the whole...
Yeah, humble and yet self-effacing, and yet not self-effacing in an amusing way as well. I mean, quite boastful, but slyly.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really get
No,
that. Maybe because he's a mate.
I'm not dissing him at all. I think what he did was incredibly brave, putting himself on the front line of in ISIS country.
Yeah.
He could so easily have been snatched,
Yeah.
and it would have been head off.
Yeah. I love the poo story.
What's the poo story? Oh, yeah, where he went
to go and have a poo and climb over all these grizzly soldiers lying in the next room to go and find the latrine, which is just a hole in the ground, and he's hot liquid poo all over his feet.
He's a good man, Tom. He is.
Love a good poo story though.
No,
a lot of your other guy who'd done similar.
Sean
thing,
Langan.
Yeah, had similar sort of.
Do you think we should put a poo anecdote in every podcast? Do you think somehow we could shoehorn one in?
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yes.
Finally, Jacob, do you have any good poo stories?
Jacob said he's going to do another podcast
Yeah?
with me. He agreed.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. Sarah Vine, obviously another friend of yours.
Yeah, Sarah was fantastic as well. And I'm not just saying that.
And she
she's a
didn't
friend.
do the holding back because,
She doesn't. She doesn't.
She gets
One
a
of the-
lot of stick.
One of
though.
the many ways I respect and love Sarah Vine, is that she could go, well, I'm the wife of Michael Gove, and therefore I have to be on my best behaviour, really discreet, and not offer my forthright opinions because somehow. No, she's not having any of that.
No.
No.
Well, it comes across as a
She's just normal. And in fact, you know how wives often are the malign influence on people's politics because women tend to be more lefty. They tend to be, you get the right-wing husband and the wife tends to be...
it must be your metropolitan set that are like that. I don't know.
Well, I'm just trying to think of some examples, actually. I mean, I don't think my wife's particularly left-wing, but one does get lefty wives.
Yeah, I do.
I just think Sarah is pretty robust. She doesn't buy any of this kind of Cameronista shit.
No, she's good.
Yeah.
Which is why she's got her own job in her own right and her own
You
column
see,
with her
David
own
Cameron
opinions.
really
and-
hates the Goves.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, it's going in the biography,
Yeah,
isn't it?
just
How he's the one he
absolutely.
hates,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Boris he can forgive, but never Gove. But so that's to their credit, you know. Then we had Chloe Westley,
Chloe.
Australian.
Chloe.
All about the horror of
Chloe
Tennessee.
is not just sound and beautiful and young, but she doesn't do. She's one of that rare kind of attractive young woman who doesn't give you that kind of you're so old, you're disgusting. She's just completely normal.
Yeah.
And it's great that I love that.
The thing that impresses me
She
about
doesn't make
her,
you feel like a dirty old man, is what I'm saying.
also, if you voice an opinion that she disagrees with, she's straight out with it. You know, you mentioned something about the whole you were mocking midnight oil, and she came back and said, no, that was the thing at the time. You know, the whole.
I had to backtrack quickly because I didn't know enough about it. Yes,
but you know, it's good that your guests will do that.
that they're not frightened of me.
Or intimidated.
Yes.
I suppose it's the same thing. Sven Hughes, he was a
Sven. PsyOps
specialist.
Sven, my
for
new
our
friend.
listener who might have.
Sven's now got his own podcast.
Oh right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I worry. Yeah, I mean, he's keen.
Right.
Sven's one. He's apart from being a PsyOps specialist, he's got that kind of drive that entrepreneurial types
You
have.
completely lack.
Well, yeah, exactly.
More of which later,
Yes,
I suppose. Yeah.
yes.
Then there was your doctor friend whistleblowing on the horrors
was great,
of the
wasn't he?
NHS. Good value, yeah. It's
I
nice
can't-
to get the
what
inside
What was
line.
his pseudonym? Was it Doctor
Death?
Death?
No,
he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate Andrews, Christian. Tank
I was
Commander
worried I
Nimitz.
wouldn't get enough Nazi jokes in, but I did manage to get them in there.
Yeah.
And Kate is just Kate obviously she's more grown up than me, and there's always that slightly disapproving, like I'm naughty boy. I always feel like with her, but she's really, really good at many things. But I love the way that she's so good at fighting this gender pay gap bollocks. And
I've seen her in action on TV. She completely takes down any opposition.
Any of them, yeah.
So effortlessly, which is lovely to watch.
And she doesn't think that the NHS is the envy of the world, and she's right.
Yeah. And she's got the facts to back it up, which is good as well.
And Nimitz was obviously great
Nimitz.
too for a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim Price, the global finance guy. I find anything about global finance a little bit doom and gloom depressing because they've got the figures to show that we're all going to hell in a handcart.
Very popular.
Yeah.
Very popular podcast. It's quite interesting. Actually, every podcast, there's somebody out there who says, "Oh, this is your best podcast," and I'm thinking, but they're all my best podcasts.
Well, it's just as well as a good enough variety of guests.
Yeah.
For any, well, I mean, I obviously listen every week because you're my brother, but I kind of assume that if they're on, they're worth listening to, that you're not going to get trash. It's all thriller, no filler. Yeah?
All thriller, no filler.
Ashton Whitty. Now, I always do a Google for what these people look like so I can picture you talking to them.
Yeah.
Now, it must have been awful having to spend time with Ashton Whitty.
Well, I have to say, Ashton is actually even more attractive in real life than she is on her byline, on her Twitter profile pic. So it was really quite an ordeal for me to be seen at an outdoor cafe.
That's why you had to go to an outdoor cafe.
I had to go and sit there. Yeah, exactly.
No backstreet kitchen in Worcester for her.
No, exactly.
No.
So that was, Ashton was great. And I've never not knowingly met an autistic girl before. So it was quite
The
interesting.
autism did kind of come across, the sort of obsessiveness and, in a good way. She's obviously like way down there on the spectrum.
I thought my best moment there was when I asked her about whether autistic women can't do the multitasking stuff and whether, and she said, no, I love doing the dishes and stuff. And I thought
right, yeah. Million feminist heads explode.
Well, one would hope so. That's a start.
So that leads us on to Tim Martin, Wetherspoon's man.
I mean, Tim Martin.
I know, it was
It was like meeting a legend. I was on holiday at the time,
Yeah.
and I would like Breitbart to know that actually I took a day out of my holiday to
Right.
go and do this. So don't think you're not going to count this on my holiday allowance, because I bloody am going to I'm not going to take a hit there. And
It was worth taking a holiday just to be near
just to
Tim
be
Martin.
him.
Yeah. He sounded generous and relaxed and ever so slightly nervous.
No, he wasn't.
No?
He wasn't cross that I'd never been into Wetherspoons.
Well, I wanted to cover that one because that was really funny. You were going, yes, but I should imagine they all look the same. And actually, we put quite a lot of effort into making them all different.
I suppose,
and then you said, oh, so exactly the opposite of what I've just said,
Yes.
which he still agreed with.
No,
which was ever so generous.
He's a
of him.
generous chap. And I think I'm the first person ever to go to his office.
All right.
I mean, he's a bit like our brother. He's got loads and loads of money, but he doesn't know what to spend it on. He doesn't.
Yet we've got very little, but we're really good at spending it.
I'd be so bloody good at spending loads of money.
I mean, the amount of military memorabilia and militaria that I would buy.
Oh my God, the shit I would buy if I had the money. Yeah. And it would be really good shit as well.
And obviously we'd kickstart the economy with our
people would
splurging.
come to my house and say, it's got some amazing shit you've got there.
Yeah. And people would say, have you seen Richard's World War II machine gun collection?
They would
Some of them aren't even deactivated.
You would be like Yoji Yamamoto, I think it's Yoji, who has the most fantastic collection of World War II uniforms, which he keeps in a special sort of anti-moth, temperature controlled, moisture controlled.
You see, I'd have to wear them. I'd have to take them out, living history and stuff.
Yeah, well, you could do
Give
that.
them a second lease of life.
You could do that.
Finally, Claire Fox.
Claire Fox, my favourite.
Fox,
looks
Foxy,
like a
Foxter.
She's great.
Yeah.
Claire,
Forthright.
you know my test. One of my tests is you're in a foxhole at Bastogne. This person is in the foxhole to
Is
your
it
left.
because she's called Fox?
Are they going to... That's it.
Foxhole.
She would not run away.
No.
She'd be there fighting to the end.
Burrowing ferociously.
Fuchs, as the Germans would call her.
Yeah?
Fuchs, yeah.
Yeah. It's Fox German for Fox.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there we are, just in case Nemitz is listening.
So that's the catch up. That's the last 10.
So there we are. So now we can now move to where I round this off and try and remember my code phrase. This is a Breitbart podcast called Delingpole with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. More in a moment. A sad bit coming up.
Breitbart News Tonight with Joel Pollack and Rebecca Mansour.
A lot of people not knowing what action they could or should take to make the difference. What I do is try to turn people on to sites like Breitbart, people who are writing and publishing the truth so that people will get educated. But, you kind of can't blame productive members of society who are kind of confused, perplexed as to what do we do to take this government back.
Sirius XM Patriot Channel 125.
This is Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here once again is James Delingpole.
Welcome back to the Delingpole podcast, a Breitbart podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. This is the sad section. This is the sad section you've all been waiting for.
I wish we could do music, because we could tug at the heartstrings.
What would the music be?
It'd be that sort of Romeo and Juliet.
And then Simon Bates would come in. No, that would go over the head of the American listener, number one. But before we go on to the sad bit, and it is sad, despite my upbeat sound, it's kind of brave. It's the clown's smile. It is, isn't it? But I just wanted to say one of the nicest things about this podcast, a cheery thing before we get to the sad thing, which is that we have a very special listener friend who sends us gifts.
Just for one?
Well, I have difficulty describing this, but yes. I got sent the other day this tea, really, really nice tea. I'm not just saying that because it was sent me for free, by somebody called Claire, who has this company called Twist Tea, and they sent me some loose leaf tea because they know I like proper.
You do like
proper
your loose
old
leaf,
school, and it was really, really nice, and the fawn liked it as well. But also they sent me this stuff in like fruit teas with different flavours. And you know how most fruit tea is just kind of sort of stuff that
Tastes
lesbians
vaguely of
drink,
fruit, and
and it's rubbish.
Yeah.
This stuff is the dog's bollocks. Absolutely brilliant. It comes in these kind of cool tea bags, sort of micro,
the foily type ones.
not the foot. Yeah, they're like sort of
more like a
sort of fish friendly, ocean friendly
they?
plastic.
Okay.
I don't know, but they've got real bits of stuff in it,
Yeah.
like really cool bits of stuff, like
bits of mango and
bits
things,
of
I should
mango and
imagine,
stuff. Yeah, and it's really, really good. So I recommend.
And you brought some of this along, did you?
No, I was going to bring it if we
But-
hadn't met in the cafe beforehand.
okay.
Had I remembered, Actually, that was the plan. I was going to bring you some of these.
Because I made you an appalling cup of tea at one of the pods the other time, didn't I?
Yeah.
I made 2 cups out of one bag, and I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, this is you. And it was a tea bag, and
Do you know the other amazing
thing? You do like
thing?
good tea.
Another listener, amazing, dentist listener, has said, I might be able to fix your teeth for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Which would be, if I haven't got round to, but what an offer.
Yeah.
What an amazing offer.
Hell yeah. You'd be like, you'd do a Bowie transformation, wouldn't it? It would be
the
like
only thing
Bowie
is,
having his teeth
it's the Invisalign thing, where they shave off bits of your teeth, and I've got a feeling that actually I need a different kind of brace type thing that pushes it out as well, rather than just anyway. That Invisalign might do it, but anyway, So what I want to say to the special listener is these gestures are really appreciated, and just send me some more shit. I mean, like gin, Ferraris. Well, no, that's a bit. Obviously, I'm not going to get a Ferrari, but no, do keep supporting.
Keep sending
me
this stuff. We approve
to make me happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to go to the sound bit, and are we going to pretend that I'm breaking this news to you? No,
well, no, but I know a little bit about it, but part of the idea was you haven't told me too much about it, so that I can genuinely find out, because
it's horrible. So I've discovered that I have a chronic degenerative disease, which sounds horrible, and it is. It's called Lyme disease, and it's the one you get when you have a tick bite. And I've sort of had this paranoia about Lyme disease for years, and it's probably because on some level I knew I had it, because probably I'd been showing some of the symptoms, and I think it's a silent epidemic. I think that there is a massive problem around the world. Certainly in the United States, it's a big issue that they are underreporting the number of people. They reckon that possibly as many as 300,000 a year are infected by Lyme tick, and that's 300,000 lives which are not necessarily ruined, but definitely debilitated. It's massive in Germany. It's rife in Britain, and yet the health services are doing nothing about it. They almost would rather not acknowledge that it even exists.
Well, this was going to be one of my questions, because when you told me you had this, and obviously I've been your brother all my life, so I've known you've mentioned it in the past, and since you finally got diagnosed with it, and that was no easy journey. No. I've been trying to find out more about it, and information is sparse, to say the least, and sometimes conflicting. But the 3 big questions I've got is, why is it so difficult to diagnose? Yeah. Why is it so difficult to cure? And where do our NHS stand on it?
Well, okay. Why is it difficult to diagnose? Because the tests that they have at the moment are very ineffective at telling you whether you've got Lyme. There's the basic test. I think it's called something like the ELISA spot test. And I took that, and I came up negative.
That's a blood test, is it?
It's a blood test.
Right.
And lots of people take that test, and it comes up negative, and they still have Lyme disease, but the test has told them they haven't got it.
Right.
So in the end, what people do is either they just go on living with this disease, suspecting they've got it, but not ever having it diagnosed, or they do what I did. I forked out. It's very expensive treating this disease, which is why I'm going to do a GoFundMe thing to fund my treatment. I paid £1,200 to have a range of tests done at a lab in Germany, where they test you because the way they test for Lyme is that they do a number of tests for different aspects of the disease itself. It's called Borrelia. There are different types of Borrelia. Borrelia burgdorferi is the main one, but there are others. But another indicator of Lyme is that when the tick bites you, it almost never just gives you one Borrelia thing. It also gives you what are known as co-infections. And I spoke to a German specialist about this, and he said it's not understood exactly how it works, but it seems to be the case that when the Borrelia enters your system, it makes your immune system more vulnerable to co-infections which would otherwise it would have fought off.
Oh my God.
For example, there's one called Bartonella. There are various forms of chlamydia that are in the air that it renders you vulnerable to. All sorts of things that affect you in different ways.
Sounds like a really deeply complex condition.
It's deeply... Well, this is why so few people are being diagnosed with it, and why I think the medical establishment, certainly the National Health Service, and it's the same in Australia, it's the same, I think, in Germany. I know it's the same in Germany. They don't want to fork out for treating this, because if they did, it would open a huge can of worms. It would be very, very expensive. So what, for example, the NHS does is they admit the disease exists, but they only acknowledge it in its early stages if you've been bitten by a tick and if you get the telltale bullseye rash, which, by the way, only appears in less than 50% of cases. Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky enough to have the rash and lucky enough to show the right symptoms early enough, then what they will do is they will give you antibiotics which might just catch it. Mm-hmm. But if you're like me and you have this thing and you don't know when the tick's bitten you or anything like that, then you suddenly get all manner of complications, and you start getting something I would call, people who know about Lyme disease call chronic Lyme, but which the experts, the medical establishment, say doesn't exist.
Right. So this is where the difficulties occur, because they won't acknowledge it even exists, so they don't have to treat it.
Yeah. So, because I don't want to sort of bore people by banging on about like my health problem, but at the same time, I think people need to know what I've been going through, and because now I've discovered that I've got Lyme disease, and I know it has semi-ruined my life, and I've always wondered what it was that's semi-ruining my life, and now I know. I want once I've cured this problem, if I can cure it, once I've treated it, I'm going to be quite evangelical about helping raise awareness of Lyme.
Is there not? There's a famous. Is it the owner of Carphone Warehouse?
John Caldwell, and I'm definitely going to be
speaking to him.
Well, I'm doing a piece about it for the Mail, and I interviewed him for that. He wasn't immediately up for doing a podcast. Maybe he will one day. But yeah, he had it, and 11 out of 12 members of his family had it. And
so clearly they'd been through the same field together.
No, he said they got it at geographically different locations. They're
really?
Spread all over the world. They didn't all get it in one go. But I mentioned earlier that there are people who think that chronic Lyme, i.e. late stage Lyme, after it's embedded in your system, doesn't exist. And really quite high up people. I've had one of the more disappointing things I've had when I sort of mentioned on Facebook, as you do, you announce you've got I've got this terrible new disease, and Americans always send their God's
hopes and prayers, thoughts and prayers, all that
and
sort of stuff.
English people always make sort of bad jokes or inappropriate things.
Everyone deals with it in their way.
And one friend said, "Yes, I know a very senior professor in the NHS, and he doesn't believe that chronic Lyme exists." And I'm thinking, well, actually, I've got it. I know that I've got it. I've had the blood tests that prove it, and also I've got the symptoms of chronic Lyme. And when it takes on different form, when later on you start getting things like the symptoms of arthritis, and of course, when you complain about this, people say, "Oh yeah, but you're not getting any younger, are you?" And it is one of the most annoying things about Lyme, that everyone has always got an explanation as to why it is that you haven't got anything wrong with you, that this is a normal part of the aging process. I get brain freeze. I get.
Everyone's an expert.
Everyone's an expert. And also, interestingly, I think we now live in a culture where everything is treated as if it's in the mind. That you on the one hand, it's good, this understanding that yes, you can have a lot of control over your health by having a positive attitude. On the other hand, what it means is that when you've got a genuine physiological condition, people still think it's all in your mind. You get depressed, you get anxiety attacks. One of the areas where Lyme has completely screwed over my life is, you remember that time a few years ago when I sort of admit it now. I basically had a nervous breakdown. When I was living in London, I had the most terrible panic attacks. I thought I was having a heart attack, and it got me into unimaginable financial trouble because I made some very, very, very bad decisions. But what Lyme did was made a bad situation worse. And I remember thinking at the time when this was happening, I was thinking, I'm going mad, and I really shouldn't be trusted to make any important decisions. Please, someone help me. But I didn't know who to go to, because the doctors weren't sort of saying, well, you're mad. And to outward appearances, I was the same me. Mm-hmm. And yet I had this disease which attacks the nervous system and the brain. And does all the things that mental disease is supposed to do to you, except this was a virus. A virus. Well, actually, it's a bacteria.
Is it right? Okay, I was going to ask. Yeah. One or the other, isn't
the
it?
problem is that when you get Lyme, you get bacteria and viruses in your system, right. And they play tag, and they completely, they mess you up totally. But Lyme is known as the great mimic. It mimics pretty much every disease, every horrible thing you can imagine, ranging from mental problems like depression, anxiety, panic attacks. You get those. You also get the symptoms often confused with MS. People think that you've got multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm. ME as well, the tiredness bit.
Well, that's one of the biggies. That just as ME or chronic fatigue syndrome is often considered by the medical establishment to be a kind of yuppie flu, a kind of psychosomatic thing,
an invented disorder
thing. So the medical establishment has this problem with Lyme. There are still swathes of it, senior professors and stuff, who say that it isn't a problem, and yet there are studies, particularly from America now. There are enough studies of Lyme to show that yes, it is a thing. Yes, it does reach a chronic stage when it does do this and that. I think from the research I've done, and you have to go searching online for this stuff, I think it is curable, and I'm going to go and see various people. I mean, I'm going to go to Germany soon with a company called Infusio, and these were the people who treated when Kelly Osbourne got Lyme disease.
Right, I didn't know she had it.
Yeah, loads and loads of people. Famous people have had Lyme disease. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's because they go outdoors, go to exotic locations or whatever. Although anyone can get it now. It is rife around the world. But it's very, very hard. It's very hard to treat. Right. And I'm kind of relieved. I mean, it's horrible having a chronic degenerative disease. Which I understand it will increase my chances of getting cancer as well. That's part of the problem.
What a joy!
Yeah, what a joy. But at the same time, when you've had your life not completely ruined, just semi-ruined by health problems for years, and you've been to the doctor, and the doctor probably quietly thinks you're a hypochondriac and can do nothing to help you, it's really quite a relief to know that actually you have got something real and to be able to seek a cure. Mm-hmm. But everyone who knows about Lyme tells me it's an absolute bastard to deal with, and also very expensive, which is why I'm launching a GoFundMe, and I'm hoping people will support me, not out of oh poor James pity, but more in the way of we like the stuff you do, James, and we want you to be fighting the fight on all cylinders. Because
I don't want to be the one to take up your mantle, because I'm not as good as being you as you are. I'd be the one. I mean, this thing wouldn't kill you, would it? It would just pretty much make you effectively a zombie.
God, no. Do you know the really sad thing?
What?
It can kill people. When I spoke to John Caldwell, he told me that because he runs a Lyme charity, he had the most heartbreaking letters from people, and one of them wrote to him and said, my wife is fading away from me, and one week she was weighing 7.5 stone, the next 7 stone.
Jeez.
And then so it affects different people in different ways. So I've been,
and this will be a disease that is barely acknowledged. That's actually killing this woman.
Yeah. And there are lots of people.
Imagine being in that situation.
Look, there are kids out there who are. One minute they were happy, healthy, normal kids. The next they're bedbound, miserable. Their lives are in ruins. It's a serious problem, and I sort of understand that the ignorance in the medical establishment. I sort of see, because medical establishments, like anything, are prone to groupthink, and until something becomes a thing that's acknowledged, I don't blame.
Who wants to acknowledge something that's going to cost them absolutely millions?
Yeah.
It's going to hit everyone in the pocket right at a time when they're always begging for more money. But this is basically the last thing they need, isn't it?
I spoke to a German doctor who told me that it used to be fully paid for on the German NHS, and then I think in about 4 years ago, they said, no, we can't afford these treatments anymore, so we're not going to fund any more Lyme treatments. So that saves some money at the drop. If this were a kind of high profile disease like cancer, or had a lobby like AIDS, there'd be loads and loads
TV
of money,
ads and everything.
Which is why, obviously, I've got an axe to grind because I've got this thing. But yeah, just going back to my point, I'm not feeling poor little me or self-pitying about it, but there is definitely stuff that I haven't been able to do. I think one of the reasons I haven't written any books recently is that it does attack your concentration ability. I can do stuff. I mean, in a way, the fact that I'm doing a podcast, and I've sort of found that my métier is the podcast, is almost a function of the disease, which has forced me in that direction, because I can't sustain the concentration to write a book. And I really want to write. I've got a few more books in me, I think.
Well, people want you to carry on with the coward ones, if nothing else.
Well, yeah, but also there are kind of political books I want to write, just explaining where we are in the culture wars and stuff. And I feel that I've got a lot more stuff to do. And also, apart from anything else, wife and kids have not known me be well for a long, long time, and you haven't known me well for, I don't know how long I've had this, but quite a while, and it is debilitating, and it is weird when these symptoms come and go, and you can't really control them. I mean, great work excuse. I mean, I've told Breitbart I've got this thing, and when I'm flaky, it's the perfect excuse.
You've had problems going up for interviews and doing BBC shows and things, haven't you? Where you've barely been functioning.
One of the problems, and this is
and you still had to do them.
So many weird things happen. One of the side effects of Lyme is that you get particularly subject to hyperglycemia, and it seems
our dear listener will have witnessed that during our podcast. You needing your something sweet.
Although sugar, apparently, I'm supposed to give up sugar because apparently it's bad for the immune system or something. You have to change your diet. But one weird thing it does is it seems to exacerbate problems that you already have.
Right.
Or create problems and which you learn about. Like I don't know where the hyperglycemia came from, but I think it probably was a Lyme thing. But I notice it particularly after periods of sort of stress. It seems to, when the adrenal system is stressed, as it is when I do public speaking events, like when I did Any Questions, when I did a speaking event at Radley, I find it so stressful that my body goes into kind of a weird stress state where if I don't get sugar or something afterwards, I pretty much collapse. And it happened in the middle of when I was doing Any Questions, where my brain froze and I was thinking, oh my God, what do I do? David Dimbleby is asking me these complicated questions, and I know I'm meant to be sharp and funny and stuff, and I'm
monged.
Yeah, I'm monged. So yeah,
technical term.
Yeah, technical term. So, I'm hoping.
Well, I'm sure I speak for all our dear listeners. We want you around. I mean, your family wants you around.
I don't want to get cancer as a result of having. So I want to be fighting fit. I want a long life. Yeah, that would suck. But B, I want to be able to go and do the stuff I do. And if any of my kids have been affected, I want to be able to. You don't know because it sometimes takes a while to develop.
Right.
I want to be able to make sure they're cured, obviously, and then I want to put the word out.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
you say, you obviously will become evangelical for this. But
Not a bore, I hope, but I think it's important.
But you might be seen in 10 years' time as one of the early fighters for the whole recognition of it.
Yeah, except you know what? I so do not want to be known as James Delingpole, Lyme victim. That would
you didn't want to be James Delingpole, climate change expert.
No, I
did you?
didn't.
But that
Expert.
kind of shows you.
So cool.
Well,
expert.
yeah, I didn't want to say denier, but I was looking for another word.
Yeah.
But your name is forever associated with that. That shows you didn't choose it.
No, exactly. So maybe the evil tick that bit me has helped all the other people out
Well,
there.
hopefully it bit the wrong person. But I've seen advice for people walking dogs that says tuck your trousers into your, wear long trousers when you're walking in the countryside.
No.
Tuck your trousers into your socks. Check for ticks after a walk. I mean, is this sensible advice, or is it not even the kind of tick we're talking about?
I can't really see how if you took all the precautions you need to take in order not to get bitten by these ticks, you'd stay at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can get them, I think, in Richmond Park in London, from the deer. So, look,
Are they associated with deer, or is it sheep, or is it all animals?
I'm not sure. I have to do more research, but I've got Lyme, and I probably, if I got bitten again, it would probably make it worse. But when I go for a jog every morning through the
ankle-length grass and what have you,
whatever, I still wear short trousers. And by the way, I'm lucky to be able to go for a jog. I mean, some Lyme victims can't take any exercise at all. One of the reasons I just sort of became aware that I've got it is I tried to get fit, like as fit as you are, to do park run and things, and I found I could never attain the level of fitness. I kept getting wiped out by it, and that's another thing that bothers me. Whether I'm going to be able to take, exercise. I don't want to become this invalid.
No. Not ready for that yet.
No, I'm not ready for that.
Forever.
I'm really not. No, I'm really not. And also, I don't want brain damage to have been done, which it might have been by the long-term effects of which is a piss.
So what will this treatment involve? You're booked in for something already.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that more in another episode because I think it could be quite interesting.
So I know nothing about this bit now. I mean, there's...
I'll save that for another time.
Right.
But we'll see how it goes. But
this is going to clear you out though, financially and your virally.
Because I can't afford it. I've got no money. Because actually, ironically, one of the reasons I've got no money is because of the. What happened when
had it.
So there we are. Anyway, I think that's quite enough Lyme for one podcast. I'll try not to bang on about too much. You're listening to the Delingpole podcast, a Breitbart podcast with me, James Delingpole, Lyme victim, and Dick Delingpole, my replacement when I die.
No.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
Sonny's Corner with Sonny Johnson.
I want to actually take a couple of the references to Donald Trump from hip-hop. And then we're going to try to see if we can figure out why they like Donald Trump. Jay-Z said, I'm at the Trump International. Ask for me. Raekwon said, I'm the black Trump. They are comparing themselves to what he represents. His wealth, his achievement. Capitalism.
Sonny's Corner with Sonny Johnson. Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. East on Sirius XM Patriot 125.